First couple of stories, they're huge stories, don't get me wrong, but we're just going to get short reactions from each one of us, and then we're actually going to go more in depth in the topics later. First bit of news, Nintendo Switch. We got the trailer. It's not the NX, unfortunately. I've actually stumbled quite a bit talking about it, saying NX, Switch, whatever. Yeah, my initial impressions are it's way better than anticipated. It looks more like a tech product than a toy product. I'm interested to see where it goes. I will never use the detachable controllers by themselves like little baby controllers. Not for me.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Yeah, interesting. Not going to be what I use it for. As it sits, barring catastrophic news, I am a day one purchase. But like I said, we'll get into that later. What's your guys' initial impressions on Nintendo Switch?
Name's a little goofy. That was my first thought, but I really like what it's doing too.
Dom. We're just lucky it's not Wii 3, dude. Like, this is the
that's
best
a good point.
we're gonna get.
That's a good point. I
Duo.
shouldn't
I would have liked
expect too
Nintendo
much.
Duo. That would have been cool.
That sounds much better.
Nintendo.
Yeah, or that.
More like
But I think Switch definitely gets the message across for the general consumer, too. It can switch between this and this, so
Yeah.
I understand it.
Yeah, I think it's a really functional name, and actually, I was kind of like, it's whatever, and then the more people say it, talk about it on the internet, I'm kind of like, yeah, that's, the Nintendo Switch, I'm down with it. It's, it's miles ahead of the last couple names we've had on their system.
Or it's not Nintendo One,
think,
which could have been even more confusing. Yeah.
Yeah, like, what the fucking Battlefield and Xbox
Exactly.
over there. It's interesting, Jared. I didn't even think about the fact, like, it looks like an actual piece of electronics that adults would purchase. It looks like it should look, really. And I guess I wanted to ask, when you said you won't use the detached controllers, you mean like if you were in mobile mode, you wouldn't just set it up like a tablet and then play it almost like Wiimote and Nunchuck?
Well, I like the mini controller. I definitely want to get a pro controller because I think that thing looked great. It looked like a controller I'd actually use. But no, I'm talking about when they're like on the basketball court playing 2K17 and they're using the controller by itself, like the little baby end. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I would never do that. Actually, putting the two pieces
Doesn't make any damn sense.
Putting the two pieces on that middle thing and making it like a mini controller, I would definitely use that. But not using like the sideways baby controller version. No, it's not for me. No, thank you.
But
I can't imagine like developers will actually like meaningfully support that, because I mean, how the heck? My first thought was, how are they playing NBA 2K17 presumably with 4 buttons? How?
Yeah, I don't know.
What?
I'm
Why would
not
anyone
sure.
make their games to work with that few buttons? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I have no idea how that all works. But I was asking Jared, like, the part where he's on the plane by himself and he's got the two parts separated.
Yeah.
But he's still using them.
Not
both,
for me. I don't like that kind of. It's not my kind of. I need something to hold with 2 hands. I'm not like a Wii nunchuck kind of guy. Not my style. But I do like that there's options.
Okay.
I do like that there's plenty of ways you can use it. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So, I'm down.
Yeah, that is. I would say that's one of the coolest parts about it. I'm happy with how big the screen is.
Oh yeah.
It feels like a real tablet. It may not be quite that size, but
It's
it
at
looks
least
like
6 inches.
Yeah, it looks like a 6 or 7 inch
Wink,
tablet.
At least 6 inches.
And then I do think it's really funny that they've had such issue with third-party support that the way that they're unveiling this console, one of the games that they're showing is a remaster from a 2011 game, Skyrim Remastered. And
Right.
It's like, that's a way to market your game, I guess. But yeah,
The list that they showed
you
is
put
crazy
it-
too, though. Sorry, go ahead, Dom.
Sure.
No, Jordan, you're right. When you put it in those terms, like Skyrim came out in 2011, and that's what they're advertising. It seems crazy, but that had a huge impact. Like Skyrim on a mobile Nintendo console, like
Skyrim
like,
mobile.
wow.
Just think about that.
Despite
That's
it being
insane,
old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was only to say, like, you can play Skyrim on Nintendo now, guys.
It's like this is a real video game. We have real video games. This is the way I took it.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
like if they had done that at the PS4 Pro event, people would have been like, "Why are you showing Skyrim remastered on a 4K console? Like, show off Horizon, show off Watch Dogs."
So that tells me that they're probably not doing Fallout 4 on this thing, which is disappointing. Because I mean, I would, unless it's like still early in progress, but that would be what you should have shown instead of Skyrim,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think you're gonna get your RPGs to take on the go.
Oh yeah.
I think we have plenty to talk about with third parties. We'll talk about that in the topic. The second bit of news, there was also another trailer that came out. Why people decided to bundle everything in one day, I don't care, but it was awesome. The Red Dead Redemption 2.
Jared, I loved the Logan trailer. I thought it was great. I think Wolverine looks awesome as Old Man Logan. I think Hugh Jackman looks cool. Really excited for X-23 and what she could do to the franchise.
Last of Us 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that was that not what you were?
No, but Logan looks amazing. I like Patrick Stewart being in it. I think that's awesome. But the other trailer, the actual trailer we want to talk about here, is Red Dead Redemption 2. Rockstar unveiled that about an hour after the Switch trailer, and it wasn't nothing much. It was a lot of landscapes, a lot of environmental shots. Most of it looked in-engine, though there's a couple of shots that I could question whether or not they're in-engine or not. We get some voice dialogue from what seems to be the main character, either the main protagonist or antagonist or something, and that's pretty much it. We see the 7 people again, the Magnificent Seven-esque shot. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We didn't get a whole lot. What did you guys think about the trailer? For me, that it was cool. As a year out, I'm kind of okay with what they showed. I really wish it wouldn't be a year out. I wish we would have heard about this next mid-year or something, but it's the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah.
And I'd rather have a breadcrumb than a bunch of stuff and then have to wait a whole year. So it's kind of a weird middle ground. But what do you guys think about the trailer?
As far as it being an engine, I think that it was all an engine just because I really don't think we're getting any more video games where you have pre-rendered cutscenes anymore. I think everything that comes out nowadays looks good enough to just be an engine even during the cutscenes. So also the fact that it was really an environmental trailer. We have like different types of trailers for video games. We have story trailers. We have, single player, multiplayer, which this game will have. We have environmental trailers. We have dev diaries. And that was the biggest disappointment for me with this. It looks gorgeous, don't get me wrong, but to unveil your game with an environmental trailer was really confusing to me. That is something that you do in 3 or 4 months when people kind of aren't talking so much about Red Dead anymore, but you're like, hey, look at how beautiful our game is. To me, I think you start out with a story trailer, maybe not a deep story trailer, but something that's cinematic and something that introduces the characters. I get that they might be trying to do, like you said, the breadcrumb thing, but personally I just don't really agree with that tactic. I feel like most other companies, they do kind of more like what I'm talking about, and then have the environmental trailer later on, which maybe they're trying to buck the system, but I just don't think that they're going to have any trailers later on that are so revolutionary that they couldn't have done it.
True,
here.
but they don't need that though because they are Rockstar. They can do whatever the hell they want. So we'll see how that pans out. Yeah. What about you, Dom? What did you feel about the trailer?
No, it looked great. Keep in mind, this is Rockstar's first game on the new hardware, except for GTA 5, but that's not, that wasn't really made on this hardware. So I think it's going to be a technical marvel, so to speak. And I kind of got that feeling from the trailer. Like, it looked gorgeous. Like,
right.
Absolutely. And like you said, Jordan, I would be surprised if that wasn't an engine.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it looked really
I think
cool.
Another real quick thing, people were saying, was this the trailer that was supposed to be introduced at E3 2016?
No, there was no violence in it, and that was the reason people were saying it wasn't there.
Yeah, there wasn't any violence, and so I'm starting to doubt that game was ever even going to be
exactly.
there.
The other thing too, when you were talking about the stories, is I went and watched the Red Dead Redemption unveiling trailer. It showed Marston heavily. And then I went and watched the GTA 5 trailer, and it showed Mike. Well, it didn't show Michael, but he talked quite a bit in it. So this is like the first trailer out of their last couple of games where they're not even showing off the protagonist at the announcement trailer, which is interesting. Maybe because they want to keep it a secret and so vague, and we'll get into that discussion later of what exactly we think is taking place, when the game's taking place. But as far as going back to your comment about this being a technical marvel, Dom, I think we're actually getting into the age of, in this console cycle, where we are getting the technical marvels. Uncharted 4 had some shortcomings in some people's opinions, obviously, but that was kind of the stride. Gears 4 is obviously a technical marvel, I think, in a lot of aspects on Xbox. Horizon Zero Dawn looks to do
Witcher
that too.
3?
Yeah, Witcher 3. Horizon Zero Dawn looks to do that on PlayStation. And then later that fall, which would be presumed the PS4 Pro and the Project Scorpio would be the main systems by that point, I would assume. So I'm excited as well. Last couple of stories here.
You're starting to see this hardware stretch its
Exactly, and
legs.
people get comfortable with it, which is really when we see the amazing games. Even though we have had the likes of Witcher 3 and stuff, this is where it kind of gets into the nitty gritty of seeing what the system can actually do at its full potential, which is really cool.
Yeah. Can see a big difference from this to like Watch Dogs 1
yeah.
or a very early console game, from the generation.
Exactly. The last couple of news stories here, we're going to go through, and then we're going to get into the heart of the episode, which is Switch and Red Dead Redemption 2. The first story comes by way of Michael McWhirter over at Polygon, and he writes, Smite developer reveals turn-based strategy spin-off Smite Tactics. Hi-Rez Studios, the developer behind Smite, which you guys have heard me personally play a bunch, recently released Paladins, revealed a new game, who has recently revealed Paladins, revealed a new game today during a live stream. It's called Smite Tactics, and takes the mythological gods and monsters of Smite's pantheons and sends them to a new battlefield with turn-based and card-based tactical combat. Smite Tactics begins its existence as a paper prototype tabletop game. It's set in the Smite universe and is built to be played with both a keyboard and a controller. Obviously, they've learned they brought Smite over to Xbox and PS4, and it works great on console because it is an action-based MOBA, not a click-based MOBA. And this was really interesting to me personally. I really think that a lot of these MOBAs have really cool lore, and though MOBAs are such a widely, there's such a huge player base, I think they still are niche. There's the whole, only nerds play MOBA kind of joke thing of, only MOBA players play MOBAs, whereas, a lot of gamers play different types of games. So, Smite's a very good game, and I do understand it's a niche kind of field, but I do like that they're breaking out. I think Smite Tactics will lend itself to more people getting involved in the franchise and then maybe trying out the base game of Smite. It looks really cool. They're using a lot of the assets from the original Smite game. Also, really cool thing, the Smite MOBA had a patch this week on consoles that was a 10 gig patch, but it essentially makes the game up-rendered for Project Scorpio and PS4 Pro. So they kind of got that out of the way. So yeah, they're doing a lot of stuff there at Hi-Rez, and I'm interested to see where this game goes because I'm not the hugest fan of tactic games. It's all about the IP for me when it comes to different genres, and since I'm already familiar with Smite, I'm more than willing to give it a try. There's an open beta, so make sure to go to smitetactics.com, I believe, or just Google it. You'll find it. They're doing beta signups right now. The second story is actually kind of pretty important to the industry. It comes by way of Engadget. Timothy Sapala writes, video game voice actors will strike rejecting pay raise. The deal offered by game publishers doesn't address demands for royalties and stunt pay. The video game industry has made an offer to the SAG-AFTRA represented video game voice actors, but the union won't put in a vote in front of its members. Interactive video game companies, VGC, the group representing the game industry, offered a 9% raise that accelerates the 3% annual increase. The publishers also have offered up to $950 more per game. Yeah, $950 more per game, depending on how many voice sessions an actor does. The VGC's offer would raise day rate for a few-hour recording on camera sessions to $900. And it goes on to the kind of specifics of it, but the big news is that they're rejecting it. They're not even letting it go to vote. So they're not satisfied. Like the article kind of started with, they want royalties and they want stunt pay because a lot of games are starting to do mocap now. So that's a huge issue. Obviously, video game actors going on strike is kind of a big deal because it depends on. I'm really not familiar with who's in the guild or in the what's the word I'm looking for.
No, that's right.
Yeah, guild.
Right.
I'm not familiar with who's in the guild. Is it Nolan North? Is it Troy Baker? Is it Laura Bailey? Is it these people that are in so many games and lend their voice talents? Or is it some of the side ancillary people, which are still important, don't get me wrong, but they're not the faces of voice acting, right, in video games. So this is a huge deal. What do you guys think about voice actors possibly going on strike and what this means for video games?
Voice Actors Guild? Voice Actors Guild, VAG.
Okay. All right. So some actual thoughts on this. I think I would say those three that you just named, Laura Bailey, Nolan North, and Troy Baker, are most likely in this. I know good old FinShep Jennifer Hale is actually kind of leading the charge. So that's somebody that would interest you, Jared. Yep. Even though, I guess, did you ever play as FinShep?
My Shep was Fem. Yeah.
You're Shepless
Yes.
them. So I'm thinking this could actually turn out really interesting, like almost like the TV strike, writer strike that we had several years ago, where you had shows being written by like people that have no right to be writing TV shows. I definitely think it would be kind of funny, but really kind of messed up if like 2 years down the road, all the AAA releases are just like, "Hello, can I please get this
God,
quest from
yeah.
you? Hello, my name is Shepard. I would like to examine your planet." So I'm hoping that that doesn't happen, but it also might be kind of funny if it did. Other than that, I think they absolutely deserve royalties, and these publishers are really acting like idiots if they're not willing to give them royalties, because games don't sell the way that games did 20 years ago when these rules were made, and um, video games are the most popular form of media and entertainment in today's day and age. So it's like you're really screwing these people over for no reason, and I think that they really should. I'm glad that they rejected it. I knew that they were several months ago when these stories started popping up, and I hope that it goes through. I hope that they get their royalties, because all the money that's being made off of video games right now, and then these characters are voicing parts in DLC and these big updates, and it's continuing on further and further. I think it's a crime not to be paying them what they're owed. So.
Also, like, if we want the medium to be kind of recognized as a true storytelling medium and want to have the top talent here, you need to treat them like other actors are treated in other mediums. And video games make more money than any other medium, and yet we don't have these kind of things in place. It's weird. As far as like the stunt pay, I wholeheartedly agree with that. As far as royalties, it is tricky. I do believe that a lot of main characters and mainstays in video games, like Nolan North or like the guys who voice the main characters, they definitely deserve royalties, and side characters to a certain extent too. But then there goes this fine line of like, well, video games are a lot different process than a movie. Like a lot of PAs and stuff on movies don't get royalties because they're only there a day or two. A lot of game developers are there from day one to the last day, and do they deserve royalties? Then it opens us up this whole other dialogue of like, who exactly deserves royalties. So maybe it's not so much a this or them kind of argument. Maybe it's a whole rounded argument of this kind of thing. And also we have to think about as games move digital, that means that there's a lot less money going to retailers, which means that money can be distributed a lot differently. So that's a huge thing as well. True. And with the lack of retail games and it's all digital, then there will be a lack of a kind of trade-in system where game developers don't get any money from trade-ins. It's all GameStop. It's all revenue.
Yeah.
So that kind of eliminates that there too, where we will have a different circulating way of income and where the money goes. So yeah, I definitely agree that they deserve royalties, but then it opens up a whole nother dialogue for game devs. So especially with Amy Hennig's recent interview talking about how she basically didn't take a day off with Uncharted, which is kind of crazy, and that whole workload. So it opens up another dialogue, and these are dialogues we need to have, open discussions, if we want our industry to be taken seriously in the entertainment medium. So we'll see how that goes.